my co-host.
Hello.
Thea.
Hi everyone. I'm Thea Aragon from SMART, from Public Affairs of SMART. Thank you, Marco, for having us here, for accommodating us here in IRRI.
Yeah, and lesson number 1. This is the International Rice Research Institute. Never say IRRI. Always say IRRI. Okay? The deal is that if you say IRRI, you buy everybody a cup of coffee. Okay.
But the coffee is free.
Too shy.
You have to buy me beer. How does that sound?
That's better.
Okay. What we'll do this morning is we'll first of all get you introduced to what IRRI is all about. And there's nobody that can do that better as our very own Deputy Director General for Partnerships and Communications, Dr. Bruce Tolentino.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Magandang po sa inyo lahat. My name is Bruce and my job is to welcome you and tell you a little bit about IRRI. I said IRRI, right, Marco?
Yes. No beer yet.
Right. Here is IRRI. And IRRI, of course, is all about food security. And you can't quarrel with food security, right? And you're here because you're also worried about food. I am sure that all of you today ate some rice. Is that correct? Is there anybody here who did not eat rice today? Or are you willing to admit it or not? But each and every one of us, and a lot of people in Asia, and most people in Asia, have rice every day. It is the most important grain of the world, and it feeds half the world's population. And our job in IRRI and our goal in IRRI is to ensure that you can have as much rice as you want, and you can have as much rice as you need, and the rice tastes good, and the rice is cheap, and you can afford it, and your mother, and your wife, and your girlfriend doesn't have to worry about it. Now, my mother-in-law worries about the price of rice all the time, and I can tell you she tells me about it every day. So, the problem is, there are a lot of hungry people in the world. Last count, almost 100 million in 2009, after the rice price crisis recently. That's gone down a bit, and by some estimates, it's gone down a little more. But 900 million people hungry is still 900 million people. And even in our country, there are a lot of people who are hungry. The last count, even under the Aquino administration, something like 27% of people admitted that for the last year or so they got hungry, they missed a meal. So there are a lot of hungry people, even in our own country. So we need to worry about them and we need to solve that problem. And when we talk about all these hungry people, most of these hungry people are in Asia. This is the area that produces rice. This is the area that produces most of the rice that the world has. But it's also here where there's a lot of hunger. So that's part of the reason why IRRI is located in the Philippines. That's why we're located in Asia, because this is the center stage for the challenge of solving food security. And it's fun. And not too long ago, most of you are younger than this problem. In the 60s, we were really worried that there would be global starvation. And people were talking about survival. People were talking about what was called the population bomb, and that there were too many people to feed. And you had the start of all kinds of pictures of hungry babies. And this was indeed what pushed the world to create what is now called the Green Revolution. And it's the start of IRRI. In the 60s and 70s, people were afraid that there would be famine. Today, we've attained a status where we can avert famine. Yields are close to 4 tons per There's been a lot of economic growth in countries like Vietnam, Cambodia, China, that owe their growth to rice productivity. And that's a really major achievement. And so the semi-dwarf variety IRA that was created here in IRRI was the key to the Green Revolution. And it started it all. So Rockefeller and Ford Foundation set up IRRI in 1960. And IRRI is an NGO. Now, a lot of you, I'm sure, think that IRRI is a government office, that we're part of the Philippine Department of Agriculture, that we're part of the World Bank or UN or something like that. No, we're not. We are part of the Consultative Group for International Agricultural Research. We're an independent international scientific and development organization dedicated to dealing with food security and rice. So, please remember that we're an NGO and we're dedicated to a humanitarian problem that we all need to solve together. Headquarters is here, you're here, welcome to IRRI. We have offices and scientists in key rice growing countries. By last count, we have 16 offices overseas in Bangladesh, Indonesia, Nepal, India, Vietnam. And we recently set up an office in Iran, and we also have an office in North Korea, anywhere where people are hungry. Our funding is largely public, the consultative group system, multilateral institutions like the World Bank, bilateral donors like the US government, the British government, the Australian government, the Japanese government, and some private donors, and hopefully smart. Yes? And hopefully Mr. Pangilinan. Yes? Yes. Okay. But we need a lot of rice. Last estimate, we need 116 million more metric tons by 2035. That's a lot of rice. How much rice do you guys think we'll eat every day? Any guesses how much rice you eat, each and every one of you, per year? Any guess? No guesses? Each and every Filipino eats an average of 119 kilos of rice per year. And some of you cannot even carry 119 kilos. So on the average, each and every Filipino eats 119 kilos. Now, depending on the numbers, sometimes the Department of Agriculture says as much as 130. Some estimates also as low as 90, but between 90 and 130 kilos per head per year. That's a lot of rice. Can I ask you, miss, how much you weigh? You probably don't weigh as much as 90 kilos, maybe 50 kilos. So, double your weight that you eat every year, on the average. Problem is, the yields of rice have been going down. In the 70s to 90s, rates of growth of yield were a little over 2%. Now, it's lower, 1991 to 2007, just over 1% per year. It's a real challenge. That's the scientific challenge. And we can't blame the government. We can't blame the president, because this is a genetic problem. It's a scientific issue. It's not a political problem. Even if you had a big program in rice productivity, the rice will grow at its own pace, based on agronomic conditions, based on the genes, based on the internal workings of the plant, which we'd like you to help with, and we'll challenge you on that basis. We have challenges in land, in labor, in water. Also, climate change. Temperature increases, changes in rainfall, sea level rise, and weather hazards. Something we all know very well in the Philippines, since we have so many typhoons every year. And it's getting hotter. This data from the field right outside in front of this building. And you see that over time, since 1978, roughly 2 to 4 degrees warmer. And the basic impact of that increase in temperature is lower yields. Comparing the actual yields to expected yields, and the issue is the changes and the volatility that you see here is really based on weather, and you try to mitigate it through good farming practices. But even if you tried your best, even if you had all the best scientists here at IRRI, and they tried to do as best as they can't do very much about the weather. So what do? We need climate-proof rice. And that's the ultimate challenge that we're facing. Drought, salinity, submergence, and heat. And the gene bank. I hope that all of you, or some of you at least, have a chance to look at the gene bank here. In the gene bank, we have about 120,000 kinds of rice. You probably think that there are only very few kinds of rice, whatever you eat every day, and you never even worry about what kind of rice it is. But actually, we've been gathering all this, and it's kept in a safe place in the gene bank. There are duplicates of it in a vault, the Doomsday Vault in Norway. And there's another set even in Kansas. But the idea is that in case we lose that genetic resource, we have fallback positions. It's just like you saving your data on an external drive, and you hide the external drive somewhere. So we're hiding this genetic resource so that we can recover just in case there's a problem. And we're also working on traditional and heirloom rice varieties. And we're also working on organic rice. And here's Randy Barker, who reminds me every day that we also have to work, and we also have to tell everybody that we're working on organic rice. Yes, we are. We are trying to manage things so that we can do rice with minimum inputs and still maintain the level of output. So we're trying out any and all solutions that will fit our challenges for food security, and any and all solutions that will fit Filipino farmers or other farmers all over the world. And this is an example. Submarino developed a rice variety that can withstand flooding, even if it's been underwater for about 2 weeks. Here's an example of a farmer in Bangladesh. His friends told him, plow your farm under. You've lost it. But he said, I've just planted this new variety, let me see what happens. And exactly what happened was, he was able to get most of his crop. Now this variety is already available to over 1 million farmers in just last year, released in Bangladesh, India, Indonesia, Nepal, and of course, the Philippines. Now, the Philippines, being the home of IRRI, being the host of IRRI, gets first crack at all of the discoveries of IRRI. Our first client is the Philippines, because in the first place, we try out all the scientific discoveries in fields here in this country. We cooperate with the Department of Agriculture. We work closely with the Philippine Rice Research Institute. We're also trying 2-in-1. And sooner or later, our scientists tell me we can even do 3-in-1, like your favorite coffee. Heat, salinity, flooding together. Because you never quite know what will happen through the cropping season. You can't predict what the farmer will need to face and will need to adjust to. So we work to build varieties and that will withstand all of these risks. These are what are called stress-tolerant varieties. And we're also working on efforts that use satellite technology. In collaboration with the French, we download the images, we interpret it here so that we can assess production, we can estimate planting times and harvest times, and we can also see the extent of damage due to flooding, and we can also predict yields. And we have mobile technology that's now operating on Globe, not Smart. I wonder why. It's already operating on Globe, and we're also discussing it with Smart so that it will also run on Smart. And in fact, Congress is telling Smart to please try it also. Now, it's free for farmers. This works because farmers can dial into a number and they can get fertilizer advice. We're also working to ensure that they can get not only fertilizer advice, but they can get varietal advice and water management. That's crop manager. And pretty soon, hopefully, perhaps with your help, we can do crop doctor, which means this technology can also provide advice on diseases. Now, there are scholars, maybe some of you, we're supporting a new generation of scientists through a number of programs that we have. And all of this is available for free on the Rice Knowledge Bank. And you can tune in, you can find out anything and everything you want to find out about how to grow rice through this portal. And here you are, here. We welcome you here. We're really grateful that you've come. We're very excited, but we're also worried because there's nothing scarier than a smart person. And there's nothing scarier than a smart young person. And you're all smart. You're all brought here by smart. All young. And we're pretty scared and pretty worried, but pretty excited about what you might come up with. So thank you for coming. Welcome.